Speaking of firsthand, let's get the word from the White House firsthand from Kellyanne Conway, who joins us from the North Lawn. Kellyanne, good morning to you.
Hey, Kellyanne.
Good morning. Hi.
Hey, thanks for joining us today on Fox and Friends. The other channels apparently are freaking out about President Trump's revoking President Obama's transgender bathroom guidelines. Can you explain from the White House point of view why this is a victory for states' rights?
This is all about states' rights. The president believes in federalism, and he thinks each state has the right to decide what is best with respect to this particular issue.
And I know going forward, the president wants states to determine it. But what in the argument, I saw that apparently the language in the Obama executive order was a little vague when it came to how it exactly pertains to Title IX. And going forward, they're going to let the states decide on a case-by-case basis what to do, right?
That's correct. And if you look at the publicly released statement by Attorney General Jeff Sessions, he's made clear that we need a more judicial analysis on this particular issue. But this is very consistent with a president who has promised to bring power back to the states. That which is not reserved to the federal government belongs to the states.
Okay.
Kellyanne, the mainstream media is also covering something else quite heavily this morning. These liberal town hall protests for mostly Republican members of Congress. Some are even going so far as suggesting these are Republicans dissatisfied with President Trump, which when you look at the actual evidence of who these many professional protesters are, just seems absurd. Set the record straight, if you would, about what you're seeing at these so-called town halls.
Well, I think it's a combination of people. Some people are upset with an election result they didn't see coming, and the fact that this president, a man of action and impact, is actually keeping his promises at a very fast clip early in his administration. Nobody should be surprised that President Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do. I know Washington's not accustomed to that. I frankly think the country's not accustomed to having presidential leadership of that sort. But this is what he promised to do, and this is what he's acting on in very quick fashion, like brilliant businessmen do. Secondly, you see people who, are concerned about the swiftness of change, and I think that you've got some members heeding that call and taking their questions. I just don't hear a lot of solutions. That's what concerns me. Protesting is covered under the First Amendment. That's all fine. But come up with your own solutions. The Democratic National Committee has been without a permanent chair for 7 months. The opposition party is exactly that these days. They bellyache and moan and complain about most things, but I haven't heard any solutions. It's just like Hillary Clinton in the campaign. What was her message, let alone her positive message? Donald Trump bad, I'm not Donald Trump. That's not a message, that's a screed. And so if you listen to these folks, some of them are echoing and articulating fears that are unfounded and are not going to be realized by this president. He said he will repeal and replace Obamacare. Why? Because we want it to be more patient-centric. You have counties in this country that have one provider. You have people who have said you have had insurers pulling out of the market, saying that Obamacare is a, quote, death spiral. We've got to do better. We've got to get people covered who aren't. And we certainly are going to have middle-class tax relief. I mean, this president is doing things to boost wages, to open up these pipelines, to create jobs, to renegotiate trade deals, to have a sovereign country with borders, and so that we have respect for borders the way that we're helping to respect and fund other people's borders.
Well, and also let the lawmakers go out and speak and let their constituents hear what they have to say, most importantly. I want to get your thoughts on something else. The media also reporting about you, Kellyanne, that you have been sidelined by the Trump team. What's your response this morning?
Well, here I am.
You were on TV last night. How sidelined is that?
I was on TV last night. I'm offered to go on TV often. I think a few things. First of all, I think the questions for me are different than for some other people here. I don't know why I would have to explain myself, but okay, I will. I spent the last several days with 4 kids looking at schools and homes in D.C., and I actually think now that we're in the White House, I've said this for many months before these silly, specious articles with people close to the White House, former campaign officials, whatever that means.
Yeah, where do those come from? Where do those
I don't
come
know.
from?
I think it's a build you up to tear you down kind of town, and that's all right. Look, I'm focused on why we're here. I'm focused on the president's agenda, what he has entrusted all of us on his senior team to do for him and for this nation. We're playing long ball here. He'll be here for 8 years, and we recognize that there will be people who will be trying to throw crocodiles in our way. But look, all that aside, I do feel that there's a different set of questions for me. But now that he's president, he is his own best messenger. the message of the day and what needs to be communicated and connected directly with the American people comes mostly from President Donald Trump. I have said for months that I wanted to reduce my TV exposure, my press portfolio, and mostly because I just think he's his own best messenger. He had a press conference last week, 77 minutes, 17 questions. 2 days later, he had a rally in Florida. Sean Spicer is our press secretary. I'm not. He does the daily briefing, and he gaggles with the press, as does his press shop. So there are many different ways that we're communicating with the public, but I recognize that if I'm on TV, other people aren't, and so maybe folks on the outside would like that, but I also can't worry about it because he's the president, and we are here to impact people's lives. You have to really keep our eye on the ball. You know, this country for 24 consecutive years gave its presidents 2 terms. This country decided that with Presidents Clinton, George W. Bush, and President Obama, 4 years is not enough for them to execute and deliver on their vision. 4 weeks certainly is not enough time for folks to judge the accomplishments of this presidency.
Well, I tell you what, he's gotten so much done in the last 4 weeks with the executive orders, and we know much more is to come. It's interesting, some of our producers, Kellyanne, have been monitoring the other channels, and when they refer to, at least in one case where they were talking about the speakers at CPAC, which is going on today, going forward down in our nation's capital area, they refer to the speakers as fringe. You know, are the...
Well, I'm the opening speaker, but okay. And Donald and President Trump and Vice President Pence will be there. Well, look, this is what I'm saying.
It doesn't sound very fringy to me, just saying.
It's actually the majority party. Let's just review. We have the presidency, the vice presidency, most of the governorships. Almost 1,000 state legislative seats went Democratic to Republican under the 8 years of President Obama. That's not called coincidence. That's called causation. And then, of course, we have majorities in the House and Senate. This country has decided it wants action, not gridlock. And this is the man for the time. And I think that President Trump shows a real realignment of the movement as well. And you'll see that at CPAC. He will have a hero's welcome tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern when he speaks. And some of the rest of us in the administration are speaking as well. And the reason is he, like many of these young people, are outside of government. And they're not particularly enamored with politics, but they believe in public policy, and they think in encroaching and overreaching federal government, whether it comes to religious liberty and regulations, taxation, government-run health care. They want somebody in leadership who's going to stop this encroachment and overreach of the federal government. Secondly, Donald Trump is not a legacy politician. He's not a Bush or a Clinton. He's his own new type of non-politician leader. That's very much in keeping with what many of these young conservative and libertarian members of CPAC believe in themselves. They're not really institutional. They're not about the establishment and the elites. So he really is a man for this time. I was there last night sitting with Fox News' Sean Hannity for an interview, and the energy in the room, CPAC hadn't even officially started, but the energy in the room, the excitement people have about solutions and specifics, you can't deny. It's very exciting. You contrast that to the DNC chair race where they can't come to a consensus. They have no real message. They're just the opposition party, the party of no. I feel really good about where our party and the movement are, but most importantly, where this White House is.
Kellyanne, we only have a moment left. Beyond CPAC, and we know what the next executive order is going to be on immigration, but can you give us a preview beyond that with these executive orders and the energy they've given? Can you give us a sense of what might be next?
Well, there are a number of things in the pipeline, actually, that are being discussed and vetted by our legal team. And so I won't get ahead of the president in talking about those, particularly since he has his joint session to Congress on Tuesday night, which is very exciting, otherwise known as the State of the Union when it's not your first term. Excuse me, first year, your first term. But so I won't get ahead of the president, but I would remind everyone, all you have to look at are all of his promises, because he's a non-politician, so they're not really promises, they're vision and plans. And you've seen already everything from pipelines to getting out of TPP to loosening those regulations on the coal miners, the manufacturers. Today he'll be meeting with other manufacturing CEOs. He's still talking about cybersecurity. I mean, pick a card, any card. I think people just aren't really accustomed to this, and they're getting used to it. And so you'll see a number of executive orders coming forward, and you'll see the president at that joint session talk about the legislative solutions that he'll be working on with Congress. Obviously, repealing and replacing Obamacare, tax relief, infrastructure.
Some big ones.
All big, and we'll be looking forward to that. Plus, Kellyanne, you didn't mention there's going to be a joint session of Fox and Friends in the East Room of the White House. Monday afternoon, we're going to interview the President of the United States, and we're inviting our viewers, if they got a question for your boss, the President of the United States, to email us, friends@foxnews.com.
That's fantastic. We look forward to that. Thank you.
All right,
Kellyanne,
thanks,
good to
Kellyanne.
see you this morning.
Take
Thanks
care.
for joining us.
Bye-bye.
You bet.
All right, President Trump promising, as you just heard, big league tax reform, and the property man, Bob Massey, says it could change everything, especially if you're in the market for a new house. He joins us live next.
Thank you all very much. This will be somewhat of an informal meeting, and I want to congratulate Mick Mulvaney, who's been confirmed. Finally, we waited a long time by the Senate, and he's going to be an absolutely great director. Total confidence in Mick, known him for a long time. He loves those budgets. Unfortunately, the budget that we're essentially inheriting, is a mess. The finances of our country are a mess, but we're going to clean them up. Things that we've been doing, including negotiating deals that have already been negotiating, so you call it renegotiating, on airplanes and lots of other things, military items. We'll end up either getting many more planes free, or we're going to save a lot of money, but we've already saved a lot. Billions and billions of dollars have been saved. We have enormous work to do as the national debt doubled over the last 8 years. Our debt has doubled over a short period of time. I want the American people to know that our budget will reflect their priorities. We'll be directing all of our departments and agencies to protect every last American and every last tax dollar. No more wasted money. We're going to be spending the money in a very, very careful manner. Our moral duty to the taxpayer requires us to make our government leaner and more accountable. We must do a lot more with less. And we must stop the improper payments, end the abuses, negotiate better prices, and look for every last dollar of saving. We've already imposed hiring freezes on non-essential government workers, and part of our commitment is to continue to do that for the American taxpayer. We have appointed a cabinet that knows how to manage dollars wisely. I've known many of the folks for a long time. They've been tremendous winners, whether it's Steve or Gary or another Steve right here. And that's why I will direct them to manage the country's dollars and your dollars very wisely. We won't let your money be wasted anymore. We're going to run government smoothly, efficiently, and on behalf of the very hardworking taxpayers, something that the taxpayers haven't seen in a long time. I will be holding everybody accountable for that, and I have no doubt that this group, in particular this group, will do a fantastic job. I want to congratulate Steve Mnuchin as our new Secretary of the Treasury. He's going to be outstanding. Tremendous track record. He has a tremendous track record. I have great confidence in him. So we're going to continue on, and we're going to take this budget, which is, in all fairness, I've only been here for 4 weeks, so I can't take too much of the blame for what's happened. But it is absolutely out of control, and we're going to do things that are going to be tremendous over the years. We have to take care of our military. I have no choice. We have to take care of our military. It needs work. It's very depleted, and we have to take care of a lot of other things. Healthcare is moving along nicely. It's being put into final forms. As you know, before we do the tax, which is actually very well finalized, but we can't submit it until the healthcare, statutorily or otherwise. So we're doing the healthcare, again, moving along very well. Sometime during the month of March, maybe mid to early March, we'll be submitting something that I think people will be very impressed by. And with that, we're going to have a little meeting, and I think the press knows pretty much all of the people at the table. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.